liquor store. They let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy. You can do anything.
Assalamu alaikum. Everyone that's saying that it's fake on the news on what happened to the young woman that came to Miami-Dade County and is saying, oh, this is AI. It's not AI. I'm here at the park, Miami-Dade County, to show you that this is true. Here's the tape. They will not just have this tape just sitting around here for no reason. As you can tell, it's everywhere. It's not fake. It's true. Be safe. Take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones when they come out here to visit. Assalamu alaikum.
Important to reiterate that outside of the demonic and outside of the fact that racism is a mortal sin against God, racism is in fact mental illness. She certainly isn't the only one. Some days ago, another child, Juliana Nacisa, was found hanging, lynched in a tree in a church's parking lot on May 8, 2026. With racism fueling these murders and common-day terrorist attacks in Trump's America in 2026, understanding that racism, while not just being a moral sin against God, open rebellion against God, and the demonic and depraved, why racism is a mental illness. Is racism mental illness? From a psychological perspective, yes it is. According to Psychology article Day after Charlottesville, racism mental illness clearly and supported by empirical research, racism has mental and physical health effects on the victims. But other people who harbor racist views themselves suffer from a mental illness. Does racism have mental health effects on perpetrators? Or can racism be a downstream effect of the mental illness? If so, then how might this impact how we view and treat those who avowed racist beliefs, as well as those who harbor less conscious forms of racism? A case can be made that those who harbor racist beliefs are in fact exhibiting mental illness problems, beginning with self-centeredness and lack of empathy, and continuing to anxiety and paranoia about other racial groups, and culminating in hatred, hostility, and sociopathy. This implies that mental health-based programs, including psychoeducation, benign and productive relational contact between races, exposure, treatment of racial anxiety, and perception of personal insecurity and vulnerability, and the cultivation of compassion and empathy can be helpful in undercutting the elements of racism still existing in society. This should, of course, be combined with a political and social program to making clear that racial hostility and bias are unacceptable at any level of society. I think that racism can be seen as outgrowth of self-centeredness, which leads to fear, anxiety, and paranoia about the other racial groups, cognitive, emotional difficulties in processing interactions with other races, hostility, hostile actions towards other racial groups, and evaluations of racial groups based on inaccurate assumptions about superiority of one's own racial group. People can develop complex about racism, meaning a set of automatic emotions, thoughts, and behaviors triggered when encountering another racial group, which tend to shout openness, friendliness, and flexibility. In American context, I'm speaking specifically of white supremacy and white majority racism against racial minorities. Self-centeredness is a fundamental delusion causing suffering. From self-centeredness springs greed, hatred, and jealousy, all to protect and defend themselves against others. The racist believes that their group is superior to others and therefore devalues other racial groups. Since racial superiority has been debunked thoroughly in science, belief in racial superiority is factually incorrect. Any differences between races are properly seen as cultural relics. Our differences are primarily to nurture, rooted in profoundly different environments and opportunities individuals can experience. When some individuals feel insecure or threatened, they need to claim superiority and power in order to feel better about themselves, and thus latch on these beliefs of superiority. So racist beliefs can be a response to one's own insecurity and ignorance about other racial groups and our common biological heritage. We have seen some level of insecurity, misunderstanding, anxiety, and sometimes mistrust in other human beings. At some point or another, we all worry about acceptance and belonging, whether another person or group has positive, negative, or neutral intentions towards us. Until we are either reassured by interaction or through previous interactions and understandings how to develop our own sense of safety and security, we might have a level of ignorance about others and anxiety. When we feel vulnerable, our fear and mistrust of others arises, so racist beliefs and racial actions can spring from pathological levels of anxiety and paranoia about other racial groups. So they could also rebound from perception and rejection by other groups. Self-centeredness results in cognitive, emotional, and racial deficits. Racially self-centeredness to value others, emotionally self-centeredness devolves to lack of empathy for others, resulting in hostility. In extreme cases, the lack of empathy underlies a sociopathic behavior, causing actual harm of others. On a more subtle level, empathetic failure underlies nearly all our wounds of racism, sexism, homophobia, and so forth. Self-centeredness, anxiety, and paranoia give rise to cognitive distortions. The individual with racist beliefs interprets the world in such a way as to support their ideology, and thus their insecure self. In this insecure self might feel more powerful to be united with others who share similar beliefs. It reinforces radicalization and spiritual of groupthink. In all these ways, we see how racism can be a symptom of underlying mental health issues and a mental health issue of itself. Dr. Carbo analyzed these issues in several seminal articles, a few of which are referenced below. In addition, Dr. Bell and Dunbar proposed criteria of pathological bias, which are appended below. Personality disorders such as narcissism, antisocial personality, as well as other mental health conditions might result in racist beliefs and actions. Some have wondered whether classifying race as a mental health issue might allow violent perpetrators to plead not guilty for reason of insanity. This is a possibility, but there also requires them to identify themselves as racist, and therefore they should be subject to corrective treatments. Racism, all forms of hatred, are threats to mental health. Racism is not simply a moral, spiritual, and cultural legal issue. It is also an issue with profound implications for mental health. For all affected, Dr. Robert Chandy, after Charlottesville as racism and mental illness, is going to be linked below. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 3 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, everyone has a right to life, liberty, and security of person. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 3, is the right to life, the right to the individual not to have their life taken away, especially by personal sanction, execution, murder, and certainly not by ethnic cleansing, white supremacists / Trump supporters. Racism is a mental illness. As a certified human rights consultant, I will reiterate that the right to life is a protected principle according to international law. Lynchings, especially by racists, is a clear and fundamental violation of their right to life. Outside of the demonic, the spirit of murder, demonic suggests a compulsion to kill the human being has targeted, using individuals it dominates to do evil deeds in rebellion against God. When it comes to lynchings, when it comes to racism and Trump's America in general, again, it isn't exactly a new concept. Specifically, if you look through American history concerning hatred, the subsequent lynchings carried out by Christians obeying the Jim Crow laws and preach false doctrines to enforce adherence to their belief in their superiority and racial hierarchy. Still playing Matches Day, after lynching, coming to Sunday church service is the same type of ancient evil that happened during the Crusades, where crusaders would enter cities and kill the inhabitants of ghettos containing Jews, homosexuals, anyone they hated, all in the name of following Christ. What happened in Nazi Germany, and what's continuing to happen right now in America in 2026, the Nuremberg Laws and final solution to the Jewish question, again, all arises from hatred, separation in God. So many of these are consumed to follow their cultural beliefs. As previously stated, the spiritual corruption of the cultural beliefs, as Father Gabriel Amaral states in no uncertain terms, was the cause of moral decline. Personally, the minute the Christian consciousness struggles against powers of darkness, St. Paul warned us, for we're not contending against this flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against worldly rules, present darkness, the spiritual hosts of evil in heaven places, Ephesians 12. Here's how the Vatican II frames the situation when the order is valued, values its young, the bad and mixed with the good. Individuals and groups pay heed solely in interest, not to those others. Thus it happens that the world ceases to be a place of true brotherhood. In our own day, the magnified power of humanity threatens to destroy the race itself. For the monumental struggle against the powers of darkness pervades the whole history of man. The battles during the very orders of the world will continue the last day, as the Lord has attested. Caught in this conflict, man is obligated to wrestle constantly to cling to what's good, nor can he achieve his own integrity without great efforts and the help of God's grace. Again, hatred that is taught to be normal for the civilization, again, is antichrist. Regardless, again, spiritual corruption begins when individuals have the inability to love others. The danger of hatred is that God isn't recognized the other human being, and subsequently, this person, dominated by the spirit of hatred, believes they can eliminate the other human. This is why hatred is an existential threat to human life. So I do not adhere to the excuse that a person was the product of their time. There are many people in those areas, like Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who knew what was being done was wrong and truly followed Christ by loving others, especially those their spiritual fallen culture would designate the enemy, who spoke out against and protect the victims of the world's continually contempt, the victims of hatred and wrong. And again, racism is a moral sin against God, and I will have this in the description.
I stand here today to remind every one of you of a core truth. Hatred is rebellion against God, for God himself is love, and there are zero exceptions to this rule. Those who do not walk in love cannot claim to know God. This truth is written unchanging for all of us to uphold. I won't say much more on this topic, beyond reiterating the church's unwavering stasis. Racism is a moral sin against God. It mocks the core teachings of Jesus Christ. We are all created and deserves reverence. Every life bears the imprint of the Creator. We must love our neighbors as we love ourselves.